If you're looking for some good Star Trek to fill the void left by today's less than stellar examples, then ReExamined Reads, the Star Trek edition, is for you. We'll review works written in the 1960s all the way up until about 2012. We'll see which ones pass the tests of good writing, plot, characters, and canon, and measure up to the old standard of Trek. We're looking for those books you pick up when you're bored with rewatching all the old school series and you just need that Star Trek fix. We'll cover works written for Star Trek the original series, The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and even Enterprise. We'll evaluate works on a 1 through 5 star rating system, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. We won't be including Discovery or the J.J. Abrams rewrites. You can find more information on the reasons for excluding these shows, as well as a better look at the rating system on the videos ReExamined Reads Getting Started and ReExamined Reads Rating Star Trek Novels, both located on this channel. Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe. Feedback is always welcome below, or find us on Facebook and Twitter at ReExamined Reads. On this episode of ReExamined Reads, we take a brief look at the original series novel Garth of Izar by Pamela Sargent and George Zebrowski. It was published in 2003 by Simon & Schuster, a division of Pocket Books. Normally, I give you episodes to watch to enhance the experience. Since I don't want to subject you to this novel, we'll skip all that. It may be available on Amazon, but I'm not even going to post a link. If you're that much of a glutton for punishment, it's all on you. This is a novel so bad it makes the 1-star Blackfire look like fine literature. In fact, let me use this analogy. If I could only send one book to a person trapped on a desert island who was begging for something, anything to read, and my only choice was Garth of Izar, I would withhold it as a mercy. In fairness, I have to mention that I only got to about page 50 and had to stop reading. It was that bad. I have 2 problems with this novel. Number 1 is a dream sequence that takes place in the first few pages of the book. It involves James Kirk, and he's dreaming that he's aboard a starship with Garth. They come up on a ship in orbit around a planet. First the ship is Romulan, then it's Klingon, then back and forth. It doesn't mention that the ship that keeps changing is part of a dream, and it comes across, and I hope I'm wrong here, as a proofreading error. Number 2 is the authors are suggesting that Starfleet is going to give Garth his command back. Now at this point I did what I always do when I have a conundrum that may exceed my somewhat limited ability to see beyond what some people see as rational these days. I spoke to my wife. She is way smarter than I am and the most unbiased person you could ever meet. I had 3 simple questions for her. My first question was, do you remember from Star Trek who Garth of Izar is? Now my wife will watch the occasional Star Trek episode but isn't a huge fan. She said she has a vague recollection, so I filled in some of the backstory from the episode in the book. He was a fleet captain who went insane after an accident. He killed his first and second officer, then tried to wipe out the population of a planet. They sent him to a place called Elba II, where in his madness he blew up a green-skinned Orion woman named Marta. They never specifically said, but it also looks like he may have murdered all the guards or attendants that were stationed on Elba II. Of course, he tortured the governor and later kidnapped Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock. He was treated for his insanity and supposedly cured. Now, I think this book is trying to send a social message about mental illness and how people can live a normal life with it. I don't want to sound like I have no clue about what I'm talking about, or I'm an unenlightened jerk, but here's my second question. Am I being narrow-minded to believe that someone who has killed a number of people, then tried to wipe out a whole planet, should ever be allowed to command a starship again? I mean, I get that maybe he could teach, or advise Starfleet, or write books, but captain or fleet captain seems a bit of a stretch. She laughed and responded, "Nope, that's absurd to even suggest it. No one is ever going to give a ship back to that guy." Third question, would you call that a bad plotline? The answer was an unequivocal, yep. Thinking on this conversation later, I knew she was right. When you look at Kirk and some of the other captains of the original Constitution-class starships, they seem in the Federation to be high-profile both in Starfleet and politically. These are the poster boys for the fleet. I very much doubt the population would stand for a madman, no matter how cured he may be, ever having that sort of power again. Earth history with people like Colonel Green and Khan Singh would give people pause, and the public outcry would be massive. So now I know that I'm not being unfair or narrow-minded or prejudiced against those with mental health issues. I can safely say this is the worst Star Trek novel I have read so far. Avoid it at all costs. How something this bad makes it past the publishing desk is a mystery. While both Sargent and Zebrowski are celebrated authors, I have to imagine this novel was put together in haste, with no real thought, and may have just been a moneymaker for the authors early in their career. So in the end, ReExamined Reads is forced to give Garth of Izar a no-star rating. There is no redeeming quality to this work at all. Leave your comments on this book and suggestions for Star Trek novels you'd like to see reviewed below. If you really enjoyed this presentation, after you like and subscribe, send a link of this channel to your favorite Star Trek fan. It would be much appreciated. Remember, you can always find us on Facebook and at Twitter at ReExamined Reads. As always, thank you for watching.